Hey everybody, Greg here, and this is a short video about a challenge that product reviewers like myself face, and that is that as consumers, as users of products and services that we like, one tends to want to see those products grow in how they are being adopted in the market. So you want that company to do as well as possible, particularly if you've invested a lot of effort into something. Let's say you're someone who has spent a lot of time building up a Google Plus presence and you have a lot of content out there and photos and you've been using Google Plus. You know, it's integrated into apps on the phone. And so if you're somebody that's been using Google Plus, you don't want it to go away. You want more people using it, right? So unfortunately, you know, in the case of Google Plus, I feel sorry for people out there that did spend a lot of time and effort building up a Google Plus page, because that's being discontinued, as you may have heard in the news. So we're all too familiar with what happens when products are not as profitable and popular as the company thought. You know, Apple used to have servers, computers that would fit on racks, and you could have hundreds of these servers. I thought they were a really great product. I didn't really have much use for them, but others did. And one day they decided to just discontinue that line. So I think there's kind of this undercurrent of maybe not fear, but concern, I would say, you know, for anybody that really likes a certain product and maybe even sees that it could be heading for trouble. There were some shoes recently, well, within the past number of years, that I really liked. There were these Skechers, and then they, along with others, started this trend of having footwear that would allow you to kind of rock back and forth and side to side. They were sold for that purpose, that they were not stable, they were unstable, which allowed you to engage your core, and you know, while you're exercising or walking or standing, you could really get a good full body sort of workout from that. But because of that, you know, because they have these really thick, soft middle portion of the shoe sole, people, once they were out in the marketplace in volume, people started tripping and falling, and they were using them for like going upstairs while they're carrying a heavy TV set or something, you know. And so, unfortunately, I mean, I laugh just to say that obviously if somebody got hurt, that's serious. But there were some people just doing some things that weren't very smart with those shoes. And as a result, every single manufacturer of a shoe of that design basically just got out of it. And so it was unfortunate for people that, you know, really liked those shoes. And, you know, you could kind of see it coming. I did a video early on before there was any talk of, you know, class action lawsuits against these shoe manufacturers. And I said, you know, these are like the best shoes in the world, and they're probably going to be off the market in a year, because there's going to be people out there that, you know, are going to misuse them, not use them in the way they're intended, or ignore the whole purpose for what the shoe is designed for, and others that just want to sue, you know, sue Nike or whoever. And, you know, sure enough, the shoe was off the market. So anyway, those are a few examples of what can happen if there's a product that, you know, doesn't get sufficient praise and promotion and endorsement and buy-in from people, is that they just go away. So if there's a product you really like, there's a tendency to kind of talk it up and maybe kind of ignore any negative aspects of the product, the service, the company, whatever. Okay, so that's the setup, that's the backdrop to what I'm about to share, which is, as a product reviewer, I think I tend to be more vocal about products and companies I don't necessarily like. You know, that when you calculate sort of the net value of what the company and the product offer, if it's something I think I'm probably not going to use that, I think I'm going to recommend other people not use it as well because there's this other product that's better, then there's less concern if, you know, if as a result of that review and others like it, that the company has a tough time and goes out of business, there hasn't been a loss of anything of great value. So if there's a product, however, that you do like, and a company that you do like 90% of what they do, then you tend to generally be quiet about the problems that the company's having, or some people that are fanboys and real enthusiasts will bully anyone or harass anyone who criticizes the product. We've all seen that. And that can be, there's a kind of fervor that people have, whether it's religion or sports teams or cars or electronics. People can get very defensive about the product they use and why they chose to get it and why it's the best one in the world. But it's a problem with product reviews. So the Federal Trade Commission has established some laws to make sure that when consumers, let's say we're going to YouTube and I want to find a video about what's a good dehumidifier or whatever, the Federal Trade Commission wants to ensure that consumers are getting authentic, unbiased, honest, transparent commentaries, okay? And if somebody's a blogger and they're getting paid by some company to blog about that company's products, well then there's an understanding, there's an assumption there's going to be some bias there, that person is going to, of course, have a glowing review of how amazing that product is because they're getting paid for it. Now, I think most people probably aren't swayed by, let's say the company sends you a free 99-cent pen, and now you write a review about that. I mean, you're not losing anything if you give them a bad review or good review or whatever. You're not going to be swayed by 99 cents. A lot of companies will give a free product away, but it's important to disclose that, In other situations, a person might get money if someone seeing the review clicks on a link, buys the product, let's say from Amazon. Well, then that person who shared the link and got you to click on it is going to get like 3% of the sale or something. But there again, if a person doesn't really care necessarily what you buy when you get to Amazon, they say, oh, any of these 5 speakers are really good. They don't care which speaker you get, just as long as you buy one of those 5 speakers, and they get their 3% sales. So that's a different kind of issue there, but still relevant. You want to know if somebody's doing a review and they might get some sort of kickback if you buy something, even if it's not what they're recommending. That's a kind of influence on a different level. Okay. And similarly, though, beyond sort of direct payments from companies or, soft kickbacks in the form of 3% commissions on sales with Amazon, there are some kind of like no strings attached, but still influencing factors. So, for example, let's say you're an avid Apple computer user, and you use the iPhone and the iPad and the iMac and the MacBook, and you have the watch and the AirPods, and you've really bought into their product line, and you really want to make sure that none of those products get discontinued, and you want them to be popular. Well, you're going to talk them up, right? You're going to say, oh, these are great products, and if there's something that's bad about a product, you might be hesitant to kind of blow the whistle because you feel like, wow, I don't want them losing market share, and then suddenly I go to get my replacement MacBook and they no longer have MacBooks or whatever. That does happen. There are products that for one reason or another get pulled, as the example of Apple and their servers, or recently the AirPad. There was going to be this charging pad that Apple announced, and they decided not to pursue that. Who knows why. Another product that seems to be hanging in the balance there are the Apple Pro computers. They promised for a long time they were going to come out with some modular design, pro-end type of product, computer. And that's been kind of dragging on and on. They're still selling the same old cylindrical design that they've had for quite some time. So there's concern there. If people really, really want to see an Apple Pro modular computer, they're going to be talking up how important it is, how cool it is, etc., trying to create some buzz around that, because if they feel like they need one for their industry, like video editing or whatever, but then there isn't enough interest and Apple decides to drop it, well, now they're stuck with that. So that's a kind of influencer where it's not a direct payment from the company, but just, you know, somebody is immersed in that product line's ecosystem and really doesn't want it to go anywhere. So, you know, you do hear about then those fanboys that are speaking positively of things and not talking negative about a company. So I have a few examples here on a smaller scale of some products that I like. I think the company is like 90% doing the right thing, but then they go off and do something that you wouldn't expect. So here's one. And I'm not too committed necessarily to this particular product line or company, but it's one that I like. It's inexpensive. They make shampoo. So I'm going to get out of the frame here and you can see, hopefully the camera will focus now on not my face. Okay. But what you can see up here is that it says it has 100% virgin coconut oil. Now, from a glance at this, you would say, oh, 100% virgin coconut oil, daily hydration conditioner. So that must be a bottle filled with 100% virgin coconut oil. Well, they left out a word, really, that would be, like, they really should say, contains a little bit of 100% virgin coconut oil. You know, I think I've seen juices as well, where it's like 100% juice, plus some other stuff, you know, like you're thinking it's 100% of something and it's not. Or they'll just list like 3 of the popular ingredients that they know consumers are going to see that and say, oh, I want to buy that because they've listed those ingredients on the front. And it turns out those things are like way down the list. It's like 1 or 2% of those things. Well, you know, that's the case here. Ingredients, no, it's not like 100% coconut oil. It's I don't even think it's a significant percentage of coconut oil. Whatever coconut oil they put in there is 100% coconut oil, but you could say that about anything, you know, take out one ingredient and then say, oh, it's 100%, you know, like my iPhone is 100% gold. Well, it contains 100% gold, but who knows how much gold is in there. Okay, so yeah, this has like water, cetyl alcohol, stearyl alcohol, something I can't pronounce, and the list goes on. And then eventually you get down to coconut oil. So that's a tactic that companies are using. And it's really unfortunate because you have already a good product, already a good market share. You get a lot of the, I mean, it's just like 13 ounces. You can get it at Walgreens. The company generally is trying to do the right thing. I mean, there are good natural ingredients in their products. I know, I've checked them out. So it's kind of like more irritating than otherwise would be. You know, if it was just some company that has a really poor product that's overpriced, that's hard to find, the company's not good, etc. I mean, I wouldn't even worry about it. But when it's like somebody's 90% of the way there and then they go slapping on 100%, you know, it's like somebody in the marketing department needs to be, I don't know, brought up to speed on ethics. So anyway, here's another. I really like these Mary's Gone crackers. This one's the black pepper. It's one of my favorites, but they're all really good. And the company seems to be like woke, you know, or whatever. So, and their price is okay, and it's, you know, full of fiber, protein, has potassium in there. I mean, these are like really good crackers and lots of wholesome organic ingredients, you know, whole grain brown rice and quinoa and flaxseed. And so, like, I'm not going to stop eating this. And there's not anything else out there. There's not even like, you know, we have grocery stores here where I live are called Hy-Vee, but I know other places it's Safeway, or there's some like large chain grocery store, you know. And sometimes those large chain grocery stores, they will create their version of Fruit Loops or Captain Crunch or whatever, and they'll call it like Fruity Circles, or, you know, they'll change the name so they don't get sued for trademark infringement. But they create these cheaper brands, you know. Stuff like this shampoo and these crackers, you're not going to find like the generic brand. It just doesn't exist that I've found. So I'm not going to stop eating quality food. But here's the deal. Okay, so I've been in touch with this company for 3 years, repeatedly. My first situation that came up was I bought some and they were really stale. And I thought, that's weird. I went back and I bought some more and those were stale. And I told the shop owner, I said, hey, I wonder if I can get my money back because these things are just like stale. I don't know. I couldn't find the expiration date on them either, which that's a tip off. Like if there's no expiration date, you don't know how long that stuff's been sitting around. So finally, I was like checking out the box, looking all over, like for the expiration on there. Well, the light hit it in a certain way and I could see it was impressed with pressure into the cardboard. Now, I don't know if you'll be able to see this. I'll have to get the light just right, but it's going to show up right in here. Now, I've got to get that bright, shiny light right on there, and then you're going to see the month, the day, the year. I'm going to get a picture of this so you can just see. Sorry, I just want you to see that you can see this date if you zoom in. There, I think you can see that. October, right? Okay. Yeah, you have to zoom in and you have to get the light just right. Otherwise, you don't see a thing. And I told him, I said, hey, you might not realize it, but it is just really hard to read your date codes. And that there's this grocery store I know of where they had a whole bunch of your product and it was stale. So I thought you'd want to know about that and then you could, make it right. And so they were like, I'm going to get a picture of this. Okay, sorry, but so yeah, I told this company, and the grocery store owner was like, forget it. I'm not going to carry a product where my employees can't see the code because inevitably, yeah, that's what's going to happen. When you go to put products on the shelf, you want to put the new product in the back, bring the old product forward, but they're not going to know when it's expired just by looking at it. So the owner of that store said, yeah, thanks for letting me know. This is not right. I'm going to get rid of those products. And to my knowledge, they never got them back. Now, that was years ago. I've been in touch then with the company multiple times. I've sent them pictures. I've shown them this issue. And they won't even acknowledge that I've written them. And I've been really nice on every occasion. It's always a letter that says, hey, I wasn't sure if you saw my previous 12 letters over the past 3 years, but this is still an issue, But somebody there is like super stubborn and not wanting to engage in any kind of customer response or customer service. It's the weirdest thing. Why would a company not want to just do the right thing? And yet, again, it's like these are the best crackers out there. So, and a final example is this milk here. And I'm going to read to you what it says on the container, which you see the little cow down there. It says, and I'm going to kind of leave out some of the details here so I don't reveal who the company is because it's generally a good company, except for this. Our products come to you from such and such small town in Iowa, a small community in the heartland of America. And it goes on and on about pasture-grazed cows and all of that. So when I first started buying their products, and I still do, I thought, oh, well, that's nice. Why not buy local? I'm going to buy local instead of this other one that's from like 50 miles away. I'm going to buy the one that's 10 miles away. Consumers make those kinds of decisions. Buying local is important. And in a lot of stores, they will have a sign up that says local products, and they'll feature those local products. And in one of the stores I go to, they actually list, X number of products that we sell come from within 50 miles and all that. And so this product would be included in that, right? Sounds good. Well, one day I noticed a problem with this company. The milk has been great. The cottage cheese kind of went through a phase where it was like bitter tasting. It just wasn't good. I contacted the company and I don't know why, but they were like, oh no, we don't believe you. We don't think the cottage cheese is bitter. And I was like, well, I'm just trying to let you know. Seems like a bad batch, And they said, nope, we've tasted that same batch at our headquarters where we keep all of our batches and test them, and there's nothing wrong with it. And so I said, okay, well, could have been the delivery, or could have been maybe the cooler had gone out and it went bad or whatever. So, but I kept buying it. Well, it was like 2 or 3 times I kept going back and buying like new, fresh batches of this stuff. And it was like the formulation had changed or something. So I checked the code, like the date code of that. And I had asked them, like, what do these different numbers mean? And they said, oh, well, that one number, that means that it's from our Ohio plant. Well, then I realized, these folks, they may be like packaging and bottling this stuff in some little Iowa town, but it is like a nationwide conglomerate network of these organic milk producers, but still, it's not like it's all just local, And so I was disappointed because, that's a big thing that they mention on their products. They mention it on their website. They show these happy little cows wandering around, and you just kind of think, oh yeah, that's coming from, right out here in the countryside. And so they're getting consumer loyalty, and they're getting consumers to buy their products based on something that's really not true, So that's what I mean. These are 3 examples where companies are just either false advertising or, not doing the right thing, and yet they seem to have like the best product on the market, and there is no other alternative, and the only other alternative that might be like more local or more whatever, a better company, is like extremely expensive or has some other problem, or maybe they have a bad product but they have a good company. It just gets to be too complicated, And when there are products and companies that 90% I like of what they're doing, I find it hard to criticize them because I don't want them to get a bad reputation. I want to make sure they're growing in market share, but a person really feels torn about that because you want to, as a reviewer, as a vlogger, you want to be as accurate and comprehensive and transparent as possible, but you don't want to be harming the companies that you kind of rely on, So, and I think that this ultimately, it's not good for consumers, it's not good for store owners, and it's not good for the manufacturers to be short-sighted on these things or to be using deceptive practices. And once you build that sort of coveted fan base of devotees, who are these fanboys and such, companies like that, because they know they'll have sort of a reliable upward trending market share and growth and all of that. And if they make a little mistake along the way, which happens, it'll be just a smaller dip in their growth rather than like their company going out of business. And Apple enjoys that. They are like the king that has no clothes. I mean, nobody's going to criticize Apple because people want them to do well. And they continue to, despite being like one of the biggest companies in the world, they continue to have this reputation as an underdog, because they haven't dominated the market in some product lines. But in a way, it kind of hurts the company because they're not going to really get a sense. They don't have a sense of how frustrated customers are. And they also get sort of this entitled feeling, like you'll jump to the discussion forums for Apple, and you'll see like 1,000 people having a problem, and it's been going on for like 6 months, and it's serious. It's like a security vulnerability or something. And they're just sitting on it, It's like they feel like, hey, we're Apple. We don't need to care. We don't need to take care of that, And it's surprising, It's like the struggling company out there that doesn't have that fan base. Wow, they're going to jump on it right away because if they don't, they're out of there. And so you see that sometimes with companies that have had some success, then they stop listening as much because they feel like they're so big they don't need to listen. And they're just going to go on their way, the way they want it to be. So, that's it can be an advantage, as I said, you get this nice upward trajectory, but it can be a disadvantage because you can be engaging in, you know, bad labor practices, as was the case with some factories in China. You can be engaging in some questionable, you know, environmental practices, and Apple's really stepped up their game on that. You know, they're trying to do the right thing, but it can take time, and I think a company really doesn't want to have a kind of loyalty like that, where people are not just being honest with you and saying, hey, this is actually a real problem, you guys need to fix this, and then being responsive to that. So it's a balance. It's a balance. And that's why I say, you know, for the product reviews I do, if I really like a product, I'll try to point out some of the shortcomings. But I recognize, you know, I'm not going to spend hours a day trashing the products and companies that I rely on, even if there's some things that concern me, because I don't want them to do poorly. And if I'm critical about a product, it's probably something I'm trying to let people know about that I think is sufficiently flawed or problematic that I don't think people should be buying it. That's rare. I don't like to be too negative in my content either. So usually I tend to be just positive and light on the negativity. But I wanted to mention that because it's been hard, because as a product reviewer, usually like in past years, I would review, you know, computers or speakers or, you know, food products or clothing or whatever it might be. And when I found what I thought was like a really good product, it usually was in line with the company was a good company, that they had good labor practices, good sourcing, they were good global citizens and all of that. But lately it's like, you know, you get a mixed bag. It's like they'll have a really good product and most of their company policies will be okay, but then they'll do this one thing that's like, you know, and I think gone are the days of calling for, you know, like boycotts, right? I mean, I'm not going to tell you to boycott this milk company because in their mind they think they're like 100% local when they're like probably, I don't know, 30% local and 70% in some other state. I'm not going to boycott it. It's really unfortunate. It's disappointing. I wish they didn't do it. You know, I wish this company didn't say, oh, this is 100% coconut oil, when they really need to say, somewhere in our list of ingredients, this contains 2% of 100% coconut oil. You know, I wish these folks would, like, it's not that difficult. Everyone else does it. Print an expiration date on the box. But I'm not going to call for a boycott because I like being able to go to the local store and get this stuff, and it's generally good products. And you butt heads with these companies that, like I say, I'm guessing it's like egos or something. People don't want to change what they're doing, or they think they're big enough they don't need to care. And I don't know what the answer is, really, because I have tried. I've tried being real nice and contacting these companies when I see problems. And I don't know. I guess the main thing is just to try to, which I will, try to be as, you know, comprehensive in my reviews as possible and point out these shortcomings. So anyway, I'm rambling now, so time to wrap it up. But I do appreciate you watching. I appreciate the likes and the comments, and look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks.